The Loud House and DeviantArt, one of the most popular Nickelodeon shows of all time and one of the most popular apps to share your artwork. What do these two have in common? Well, they were both designed for teenagers, they both attract some disturbing people, they are both full of artwork, and both will give you stage 5 brain cancer. With that much in common, it was only natural that these two would end up intimately related to one another, to the point where there's a long list of users on DeviantArt whose entire gallery is dedicated to weird Loud House fetish artwork. A list long enough to make a video, or maybe even a whole YouTube channel, like the YouTuber Greg on My Athlete, a YouTuber who has produced a shit ton of videos covering an absurd amount of Loud House degenerates on DeviantArt. Today, my friends, I'm diving straight into hell. I've compiled a list of some of the most heinous, disgusting, and outrageous profiles on DeviantArt. Profiles whose sole purpose on this earth is to bring suffering to anyone who dares to visit them. So, without any further ado, let me show you the degenerates of the Loud House DeviantArt. Frost4556 is a user who has dedicated an unhealthy absurd amount of time to posting and probably gooning to images of fat Loud House characters. His gallery is technically a mix of random Loud House stuff, but for the most part it's all clearly centered around these very specific and very weird fetishes. From what I have seen, what really gets this guy going is obesity, specifically seeing Lincoln and his sister's fat as fuck. And I don't mean chubby or slightly overweight, I mean morbidly obese. He has an enormous amount of images that are literally just Loud House characters eating food, ballooning in size and wearing clothes that are very obviously way too tight for them. Sometimes the characters get so fat that it honestly stops feeling like an obesity fetish and starts drifting more into vor. And to make it even worse, some of these images are clearly AI generated, which almost makes me cry, because this is the reason RAM prices are so high. These, right here. Most of the stuff in his gallery doesn't even seem to be made by him, but the ones that are, oh, you can tell immediately, because they look like absolute garbage. Like something a 5-year-old would make. As for favorite characters, it's pretty obvious who he jerks off to the most. Lincoln and Leaf Loud. And if you don't know who Leaf is, apparently is the canon male version of Lana Loud, because of course that exists. Those two show up the most by far, and it gets even more uncomfortable when I found that Frost owns plushies of both characters, including a custom obese Leaf plush. And I am praying, bro. I am praying to God that he's not doing weird shit with that thing. But let's be real, we all know the answer. He has also posted fan-made comics where the entire plot is just the characters eating massive amounts of food and getting Godzilla-level enormous. There's even one comic where his headcanon is that Lincoln transforms into a fat polar bear when he gets angry. But what concerns me the most about this guy's gallery, and I mean genuinely concerns me, is the amount of images portraying Lincoln as a baby. Now, to be clear, they are not sexual, they are not suggestive, but still, why? Why is that there? Why does this filled gallery need baby Lincoln content mixed in? It's not illegal, it's not explicit, it's just deeply unsettling. TennisSweet123 is another user who's into that morbid obesity shit, but what really earns her spot on this list is a fanfic she created in 2022 called Meet Lincoln Gloop. The fanfic rewrites Lincoln as Lincoln Gloop, which is basically an obese version of Lincoln who sees an advertisement on television for Willy Wonka's golden tickets hidden inside chocolate bars, and becomes determined to find one so we can visit Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. So basically, it's the plot of the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but the main character is a fat version of Lincoln. Or maybe not, I have never actually watched Willy Wonka. Lincoln Gloop eats hundreds and hundreds of chocolate bars until he gets diabetes, but more importantly, a golden ticket, which he then uses to eat even more chocolate at the factory and get even fatter. The fanfic ended up getting way too much attention, which led to the popularization of the Lincoln Gloop character within the Loud House fandom, especially on DeviantArt. At first he was mostly talked about only among the weirdos in the fandom who have an obesity fetish, but he was quickly popularized by people like Greg on my Fly and turned into more of a joke. Used to make fun of people who actually find a morbidly obese, kid-looking character attractive. This user also posts a lot of other bizarre stuff on our profile, but for the most part it's just the usual Lincoln eats a lot of food and gets fat type of images. Finn the Jedi 1025 is probably one of the weirdest users I'm going to talk about today, mainly because his gallery leans more toward bizarre rather than outright suggestive. What he does is screenshot random scenes from episodes of The Loud House and then draw over the characters with fake animal noses or sometimes even full animal suits. And it's not like one or two images, it's his entire fucking gallery. Now, nothing explicitly says this is a fetish, but come on bro, if this isn't a fetish then what the fuck is it? Why would someone draw thousands of images of Loud House characters wearing animal noses? He seems to have a very specific thing for pig noses, since they are the most common in his images, and he also likes to roleplay with other users on the app as Loud House characters wearing those pig noses.
Rita in her pig nose is cuddling her son Lincoln.
I'm glad you got to dress up as a pig. Yeah. Oink. What are you doing? I wanted some cuddles. Of course you do. Haha, Mom, that tickles. That's because I licked you. Yeah. He also apparently has a pretty bad reputation on DeviantArt because he goes after people who don't like the Loud House or post anything even slightly critical of the show. Sometimes it's not even slander. Someone could post a Loud House meme and this guy will jump into the comments and start spewing shit out of his mouth. Take this one post for example. The user made an image titled Top 10 Loud House Characters and then proceeded to show 10 characters that aren't even from the Loud House. We've got Incredibly Gassy, Filthy Frank and even Lincoln Gloop. The joke is simple. Almost none of these characters are from the show. It's dumb, it's kinda funny, and there's really not much to think about it. But if you are a retard like Finn the Jedi, you will go into the comments and type some bullshit like
None of these characters are from the Loud House.
And then proceed to argue with people in the comments who are trying to explain the joke to your 10 IQ ass. Oh yeah, and this guy has also admitted to being a pedophile. If you have been around my channel long enough, the name Jacob Stepp might sound familiar, since I already dedicated the whole video to this single individual. He is an old-ass man who seems to be in his late 30s and generally believes he's in a relationship with Stella, one of the characters from the Loud House, who is 11 years old. Since the creation of his DeviantArt account, Jacob has drawn a massive amount of artwork depicting Stella in a relationship with his OC, which is very clearly meant to represent himself. He has made a lot of disturbing drawings, like one where they are getting married, one where he's in high school with her, and another where they already have a family, along with many others that really just show how deep and unhealthy his obsession with Stella really is. In my original video, I mainly focused on his bizarre parasocial obsession with an underage fictional character, but there's a lot more going on in his DeviantArt gallery that's worth talking about. He has hundreds of hand-drawn images featuring Loud House characters and characters from other shows and movies participating in various fetishes of his. Inflation, obesity, bondage, big tits, you name it. This guy is definitely into it. He pretty much spends all of his free time drawing this stuff. Sometimes he will even upload 20 images in a row showing a time-lapse of a character getting inflated. Apart from his peculiar gallery, another thing that really stands out is the comments Jacket leaves on his own posts, because they are barely readable and don't make sense most of the time. And this is because, and I want to say this without sounding disrespectful, he is low-key kind of mentally stupid. He can't write coherent sentences, and he also can't really talk properly. So it's very likely that he generally doesn't understand how wrong it is to say he's dating a character who is 11 years old. That honestly makes me feel a tiny bit of empathy toward him, very little, because what he's doing is still pretty disgusting in my opinion. One more thing I want to say is that a friend told me that apparently someone saw my video and sent it to his mother on Facebook. Guys, don't do that. I know it might seem funny, but you're not helping anyone by doing that. You're probably just making things even worse. So yeah, do not harass him, don't contact his family, and don't do any other stupid shit. Another entity that is very common to appear when you for some god-awful reason decide to browse Loudhouse fanart on DeviantArt is 10marshfan20. His bio on the website reads as follows: My DeviantArt name is 10marshfan20, but my actual name is Miles Boulder. The varying cartoon franchise I like include Toy Story, Family Guy, Despicable Me, South Park, The Loudhouse, and The Simpsons. I also like listening to music of different genres, like rock or pop music, particularly 80s. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with developmental autism, but overall I am still a normal person. Wow, that's wonderful! Finally, a normal person for a change of pace. Miles? I don't think this is what normal people do. If you take even a tiny little look at Miles' gallery, you will quickly realize that he absolutely belongs in this video. Going through his gallery, I noticed that he has two main obsessions. The first and most obvious one is feet. He has posted a ton of images where Loudhouse characters are clearly showcasing their barefoot grippers directly to the viewer. A lot of these images contain the characters doing something completely random, but for some reason they are doing it without any shoes or socks. Like, why is Lincoln trick-or-treating barefoot? Not to mention the diaper. Even in images where the characters are originally wearing shoes, he often uploads alternate versions where the same character is suddenly barefoot. I guess you could try to brush this off as something normal, somehow, but in my opinion, he really does go out of his way to force characters' feet into images even when it doesn't make any sense. His second obsession is, surprise, obesity. Because of course it is. It's probably the most common fetish among these type of users, and honestly, all of the images look the exact same. I could grab 3 images of obese Loudhouse characters from 3 different accounts, and you would probably think they were made by the same person. They all follow the same formula: widely exaggerated body proportions, the character eating some random bullshit, and their belly hanging out of their shirt because they are so unbelievably fat.